Hello YouTube, and welcome back to the third tutorial on how to make a Minecraft server. As you can see, this tutorial is for both the Mac and the Windows. From here on out it's going to be like that. It's just because they're so similar that there's no need to do things separate. And if you are running across some problems, my Skype is down in the description. You can contact me there, and if I get enough complaints, I'll just make an totally separate Windows version. Alright, so basically this tutorial is going to be just a few terms that are kind of essential to know. So the first one is the server's root. We have gone over this before. This is where all your files are stored. So back in our server folder, right here, all this is our server's root. Not in here, not in the plugins folder, not in anything else. It's this right here. This is the server's root. Alright. And then the console, that is where we type the stop command, where we saw all the starting up stuff. That is this right here. This is the console. As you can see, you can type in stuff right there. The point of the console is so you can view errors when they come up. Right now we really don't have any errors, so there's nothing to view, but you will get info on errors in this area, and you can also read the chat or chat with players if you feel like it, and then enter commands. It's mainly what it's for. Alright, so we have not talked about Bucket and Vanilla yet, but it's pretty important. Vanilla, this is just the... So on Minecraft.net you can download the basic server. That's called a vanilla server. It's just the basics. There's nothing to it. It's as standard as it can get. Bucket, this is more advanced. This is what we are using. It allows for things called plugins and other different features, so you can make your server a little bit more pleasurable to your users. It's basically all it is. And then plus, Bucket has its own website for doing all this. Alright, now a plugin. It's basically a mod for your server. There is a directory which is generated in your server's root for this. If you try to delete it, it's going to generate it again. So long as you have Bucket installed, which we do. So that's pretty straightforward. I have another, it's pretty extensive, so I'll have other tutorials on plugins, so we'll come back to that at another time. Permissions, same thing. I have other tutorials on permissions, and because it can get kind of extensive and they vary between what you're using and stuff. You have to get something called a permissions plugin. It's basically a mod that does permissions. Basically what permissions are is you can specifically allow or deny certain players to do things by putting them in a certain group. So you put a player into a moderator group, you're going to specifically allow them to TP, or maybe you don't want them to TP and you deny them to TP or something. And we'll go over that in other tutorials because it gets it can get complicated. Alright, the start underscore server dot command. For Windows, you don't know what this is. This is the command on a Mac to start your server. So Windows, this is not important to you. You just double click that and it'll start it. The run.bat. Mac users, you do not know about this. This is the file that a Windows user would double click on in order to start the server. Pretty simple. Terminal, this is for Mac only. This is this window, as you can see, it says terminal up here. Just this white box, pretty boring. And right now I have the console showing here, but there's many other things that you can have showing up here. Like I open up the terminal right here, and then we got this. Alright, the command window, which on the Windows is where you went to the percent, or we went into the start down here in the left hand corner, and then we typed in command and we opened that. That's what that is, just the command window. Same thing as a terminal for Mac. Pretty straightforward. Just putting a name with a picture. Okay, the RAM. This is the random access memory. Basically, it's this amount of space you have to run applications on your computer. Each application is going to have a specific amount of memory that it's going to take up. So, our server is going to take up quite a bit of RAM. When it's running, it's going to take up quite a bit of space on your computer, which is going to make it slow. The more RAM space that you're using, the slower your computer is going to be. So as you can see down here along the dashboard, I have a bunch of, these are all applications, and the ones with lights on them are the ones that are running. So each one of these is going to take up a different amount of RAM space. I mean, certain ones will take more than others. So if I were to go ahead and click on each one of these and open up every single one of these, my computer is probably going to lag, and it may even crash, just because of it's trying to process so many things at one time that it just can't keep up. Anyways, yeah, it's really not important. It's just something to keep in mind if someone talks to you about your RAM. Most servers will have 32 gigabytes to 16 gigabytes. The ones that are running smoothly will have that many. More RAM is better if you have more worlds or more plugins, stuff like that. Okay, so your hard drive. This is where actual data is stored. Like, if so, you make a Word document and then you save it. That's getting saved to your hard drive. Hard drives can be a variety of different they can be a variety of amounts of spaces. So as you see, we have MB, which stands for megabyte. That's the smallest one right now that we were talking about. You can also go down to like bytes and all that, but we're not going to get into that. Megabytes, it's the smallest kind of one. 1024 in 1 gigabyte. A gigabyte is substantially larger than a megabyte, and then a terabyte is essentially it's. I don't know the exact number of gigabytes, but it's a lot more than a gigabyte. So a lot of servers will have like they might have 4 or 5 terabytes worth in hard drive space because of the amount of info that they have to store. Most servers, they'll probably have like just 1 terabyte. That's probably enough for Minecraft, but just so you know. Also, okay, so bandwidth. This is kind of important to think about because it's basically when one player joins your server, they send information to you, and then the server sends information to them. And then bandwidth is the speed, basically, at which it does that. Now, for each player that connects to your server, they're going to take up some of the bandwidth that you have. Each player who connects to a Minecraft server takes approximately 0.3 megabytes per second up and down. So if you were to have enough players, you would actually run out of the bandwidth space. And the problem with that is then you're going to get charged for it, and you may not even know until you get your bill. So you always have to be wary of that. If you're going to go and come and invite like 30 people to join your Minecraft server when you're running it on like just like a little family router or something, because you're going to end up paying some extra money. I hope that made sense. It's really not important. It's just you gotta know, because if you're gonna have a lot of players connecting to your server, it's gonna cost you some extra money. Okay, costs. This is probably the most important thing that we need to go over, because a lot of server administrators, they'll get caught up and they won't be able to really run their server, in the process because of the costs. Alright, so the first one, the actual hardware, your computer. This stuff your processors and all that kind of stuff. Of course, for a server you really don't need a video card, but that includes all that kind of stuff. So it could be anywhere from $1,000 to really expensive, like $10,000 or something like that. It really depends on the stuff you're getting, the quality, all that kind of stuff. Now, mostly you're probably on like a laptop or something like that, so you won't need to actually pay for the hardware. You already have it, so you won't need to worry about that. Bandwidth, as we set up here, it shouldn't be a problem if you're not having too many people connect to your server at once, but do keep in mind that you're going to get some charges if you're having a lot of players connect at one time. Dynamic port. This is basically, to put it short, there's the server IPs that are consisting of numbers and ones that are letters. Dynamic port is mainly the ones that are letters, and those can cost money. You have to buy these dynamic ports. Also, for example, like if you're going to make a website, you have to buy a dynamic port, so something to keep in mind also, but you probably won't even use that, so it's fine. The rent, okay? If your server is not being hosted at home, or in other words, if you're giving it to like a professional hosting data center, you will have to pay them monthly, probably, rent. So this can be a wide range of numbers from $50 to $600 per month. So depending on what you're getting, you'll have to pay a different amount of money. If you are hosting at home, though, you're going to have to worry about the power to run your machine. This is actually going to add up. When your server is running, it takes a lot more power than it usually does to run your computer, because the fans are going to be on to cool your processors down. Your video card really isn't necessary unless you're actually playing Minecraft while your server's running. You run your CPUs. I mean, this is probably going to be the largest cost in your server, is the power to run it. Besides the actual renting. So these are just some things to keep in mind, terms and things, because I mean, if you're like talking with a friend or something and they mention one of these, you should probably know. I mean, there's a lot of different things to know about servers, and this is the bare minimum of what you can know. But this is basically just a quick tutorial on all those. So, alright, I'll see you in the next tutorial, which I'm going to be talking about how to download your first plugin called XAuth, which allows players to register and then log in. Alright, see y'all later.